Welcome to MES e-learning channel. In this session we will be seeing about export system. So here in this video we will cover various topics related to export system. So first we will see what is an export system. Then we will see what are the components that are there in an export system. So starting with the first part, that is what is an export system. So export system is basically a software, or you can consider a computer application which can be used by any individual, and that individual may or may not be an expert. Now that role of this export system is, this export system basically works similar to an expert of any domain. If we take an example of doctor, suppose we don't want to visit to a real doctor. So what we can do, we can just take a help of this export system, and we can just get some prescription for the symptoms which we are facing from this export system. So this is export system will provide us with the solution, or you can say provide us with the prescription which will be somewhere similar to a real doctor. So that is what is a basic idea about an export system. Whenever we deal with an export system, there we come to know about different components that are involved into it. So an export system is being made up of three different components. So the first component at the bottom of the section is our interface. Just above the interface we have inference engine, and at the topmost section we have our knowledge base. So these are the three main components using which any export system is being made. Apart from this interface, it can be used by any user. That user may be an expert or may not be an expert. And this knowledge base, it is being handled by a person which is known as knowledge engineer. This knowledge engineer works along with a person which is known as expert. So these are the basic components that are involved in export system. Starting with knowledge base, then we have inference engine, then we have interface, or you can say UI, that is user interface. This user interface is being used by our user that may be an expert or he may not be an expert. Knowledge base is totally handled by knowledge engineer, and this knowledge engineer, it basically work along with the expert. Now let us understand this entire role with the help of some example. Suppose we need to make an export system which is capable of prescribing medicine for the symptoms that are entered by any user. So for that purpose, in our knowledge base, first of all, knowledge base is similar to our database. Knowledge base is somewhere similar to the database. Okay? So this knowledge base is been developed. Knowledge base is similar to database. Okay. This knowledge base is been totally handled by knowledge worker. Now what does knowledge worker does? Knowledge worker basically visit different expert. Now in this example we are creating an export system for doctor. So here this knowledge worker, he will visit different doctors, or which are expert in our case. Now these knowledge worker, they will collect the data. Data regarding different symptoms and the medicine that is being provided by these expert. And after collecting the data, they will knowledge worker will store this data in our knowledge base. The data that is being collected by knowledge worker will be in a raw format. We need to process that data, we need to convert that data into information, and later on we need to store that information in the format of knowledge. To store the information in our knowledge, we use if-then rule. If-then rule is the rule which is being used to store the knowledge in our knowledge base. A simple example of if-then rule is, suppose if symptom is equals to fever, then prescription is equals to paracetamol. So in this format, the data is been or the knowledge is being stored in our knowledge base. Knowledge worker may be an individual, or there might be a team of knowledge worker who are working on this knowledge base. They will visit different expert, in our case doctor. So they will visit different location ka doctor, and they will try to collect the data. Then that data is processed and converted into information, and later on it is stored in the format of if then rule, and it is being stored in our knowledge base. So in this way our knowledge base is being prepared. Once the knowledge base is being prepared, then comes our inference engine. Inference engine is also known as heart of an export system. Heart of an export system. Now what happens whenever a user, as I told you, user may be an expert or he may not be an expert. Whenever a user is entering any query onto the interface, let's say we have a text box says symptom, and here in the symptom field, let's say the user is entering fever. This data is being read by inference engine. This data will be further carried by inference engine, and it will pass to the knowledge base. And in our knowledge base we have knowledge already stored in the format of if then rule, saying that if symptom is equals to fever, then prescription is equals to paracetamol. So inference engine will pass on this data to the knowledge base, and from knowledge base it will fetch the symptom matching with the respectively rule, and it will just collect that data, that is prescription, and it will again paste it onto the prescription section that is available on the UI of the user. So like this way this entire system will work. User will enter the query into the field that is be specified on the user interface, that will be read by our inference engine, and inference engine will carry that information and it will reach to the knowledge base. From knowledge base it will fetch the data and again put it back to the interface. So in this way the entire export system is working. Now let us talk about knowledge that is being stored in our knowledge base. So knowledge which is being stored that can be of two different types. So the first type can be a factual knowledge, or second one can be heuristic knowledge. Factual knowledge are those knowledge which are based on fact. Factual knowledge are those knowledge which are based on some facts, whereas heuristic knowledge are those knowledge which are based on some experience, they are based on some experience or some past data. So that is what is basic idea about heuristic knowledge. So whenever a knowledge worker is collecting a data, he may collect factual data or he may collect heuristic data. So if it is factual knowledge, then our inference engine will be working as a deterministic inference engine, whereas when the knowledge is being stored in the format of heuristic knowledge, then in that case our inference engine will be working as a probabilistic inference engine. So depending upon the data that is being stored or knowledge that is being stored in the knowledge base, the working of inference engine will vary. Again, if the knowledge base is storing factual knowledge, so in that case we will be using deterministic inference engine, and if our knowledge base is storing heuristic knowledge, so in that case we will store probabilistic inference engine. So this is the basic idea about what is an expert system, what are the main component of an expert system, and how does it works. See you in the next class. Thank you so much.